What are you doing? What's going on, guys? We're back again in the garage, working on the Subaru. Finally gonna get started on bolting on the new header, the Killer Bee oil pan, and the Torque Solutions engine mounts and transmission mounts. Like I said, in the previous unboxing videos, you don't need to do all of this at once, but it definitely makes it a lot easier if you're doing the header and doing the pan and the engine mounts all at the same time, because you kind of have to take one off to do the other one. So if you can afford it, or if you can wait to save up, it definitely makes it a lot easier to do this all at once. So here's our pile of parts today. Like you've seen before, the Tomei unequal length header with the up pipe and supplied heat wrap, Killer Bee oil pan, pickup, and baffle with a hardware kit, and Torque Solutions solid engine mounts and transmission mount with factory brackets. This mount also works for both 5-speed and 6-speed. There's just a little plate that you bolt on here to, I guess, line it up. But yeah, before we get started on installing this, we'll first need to wrap it, which I'm definitely not looking forward to, because doing the downpipe was one of my least favorite things. Although the wrap I used was super cheap and super shitty from Amazon. I've heard this stuff is actually really nice to work with, so we'll see how that goes. But before I go wrapping the manifold, since this is kind of like a sliding design, I just want to get everything unbolted, test fit it up, make sure that it's the proper size before I wrap it, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to change it once it's all wrapped and adjust it. So just need to remove the rest of the manifold. Half of it's already been removed, along with the up pipe for when I did the or when I did the secondary air pump delete and put in the block off plates. So yeah, let's get started on that. Alright, so there's the last half of the exhaust manifold out. And as you can see, the stock piece is cast with this heat shield on it. It's super heavy. I'm not exactly sure how much heavier it is, but I can tell you for a fact that the Tomei header is lighter than just this one half of it. So yeah, you're getting the performance, and you're also getting some weight savings. Isn't that right, bud? Isn't that right? Isn't that right? So under the car now, here's obviously the oil pan, and you can see why it is beneficial to remove the exhaust manifold. And you've also got the engine mount right here. So everything is pretty much wide open, and this is just kind of showing you why you would want to do the header, the pan, and the engine mounts all kind of at the same time, just because they're in close proximity to each other, and you got to undo the engine mounts to get the pan on, and so on. So that's kind of why it makes sense to do this all at the same time. And now that the old exhaust manifold is out of the way, we can test fit this. It does come with this bar here just to I think they align this from the factory and just keep it all square, because this is a slip fit, and you can adjust it somewhat. But just in case they didn't get it right, or something's different with my engine for some reason, it's a good idea to test fit this whole thing and then wrap it, because like I said before, you don't want to wrap this and find that it doesn't quite fit, and then you got to peel back the wrapping and undo this and whatever. So I'm just going to get that out of the way now, make sure it's all square, and then we'll get to wrapping it. Okay, so as you can see, it didn't quite line up, which kind of sucks, but luckily enough, it's easy to adjust it. Basically just following this method listed here in the instructions. It's pretty simple. Just loosen the 4 little bolts, slide the pipes to where you need them, test fit, tighten the bolts, and then you're done, and then you're ready to wrap. Alright guys, so it's the next day. Got the Tomei header fitted and wrapped, and got the bolts in the up pipe. So I'm gonna tackle the torque solutions, engine mounts, and transmission mount. I guess in theory you could probably do the pan first. But I'm just gonna do the engine mounts first because that's the way I've had it sort of planned out in my head. But anyways, yeah, let's get started. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is actually remove the intercooler so you can get to the pitch stop mount and just unbolt it, because we're gonna wanna get as much movement as possible with the engine. We're gonna be jacking it up from the oil pan with a block of wood very carefully so we don't damage it. But removing the pitch stop is gonna help give us a bit of extra clearance. So quickly looking at the engine mount before we get started, this is the driver's side. You've got a 14mm bolt here, 14mm bolt here, and all the way sort of back in here you've got another 14mm. So having a flex head gear wrench or something like that is definitely going to help you out here. So we've got the engine jacked up with a piece of wood. As you can see, that one stud down there is just barely still in the slot, and you can see how much room we got there. There's one of the 14mm bolts, and these aren't on very tight, so don't worry about not having room to swing. And try to show you there. Oh, that's not focusing, come on. Yeah, so as you can see back there, I've already started to get that one bolt out. This one is probably the most difficult, I think, just because you've got a lot of the power steering stuff and whatever in the way. But it is doable, and again, it's not super tight. I found that using kind of a box end like this that's got a bit of a curve to it has been the most useful. My flex head would be good, but it's too floppy. So if you've got a better one, this would probably be good for you. But yeah, using this has definitely helped out to get that bolt. So yeah, I'll just continue with this and get the whole mount out and show you what that looks like. Alright guys, so we got the driver's side engine mount out. I'm not sure if the WRX mount is any different than this, but this is out of an STI, just in case they are different. As you can see, there's nothing really wrong with this. I just wanted to stiffen it up a bit if I'm going to be making a bit more power. Just taking a quick look here. This shield faces the outside of the car, and if you look at the bottom of this center bolt isn't quite centered. It's off to one side here. So when you grab your new mount, you need to make sure that grab one and actually you need to make sure that this bolt is on the same side as the mount that you're taking out. So as you can see, this plate bolts to the rubber engine mount. A little confused though, because Torque Solutions says for, I think it's 06 and up, you're required to buy these plates, but they look identical to the ones that are on my 2009, so not really sure why they said that, but I might as well just use all the new parts and just keep these together. I think I might have to reuse these nuts, but yeah, let's disassemble this one, put the little shield mount thing on there, and bolt this one up into the car, and then take the other one out and do the same thing.
So after fiddling for quite a while, finally got the bolt in the back here done up, the one in the front, and this engine mount is mounted, but I'm not going to drop the engine yet because of course we have to do the other mount, and we're just going to leave this nut off because we need to raise the engine up about this high to get the bolts for the oil pan off. So once we get the pan off and put the new pan back on and everything, then we'll drop it down and put this nut on to the stud that connects the engine to the front subframe.
So next I'll remove the passenger side engine mount, which should hopefully be a lot easier, and then we can move on to finally putting on the pan and then mounting the header and all that stuff.
So here are both engine mounts installed. As you can see, the passenger side was much easier. I'd say just a fraction of the time it took to do the driver's side.
What's up guys, it's the next day. Yesterday I got the engine mounts in and I was gonna do the Killer Bee oil pan, but I've decided to switch it up a little bit and do the transmission mount first because the Killer Bee oil pan and pickup just has so many parts, so it'd be nice to show that in its own separate video. So today I'm gonna do the Torque Solutions transmission mount, which should be fairly easy. Basically only need a 14 mil socket and a 17 mil socket, and of course support the transmission so it doesn't fall down when you take the mount out, and that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so I got the original factory mount out and it was pretty painless. Just needed a 14 mil socket, and yeah, basically that was it, a 14 mil socket. So here you can see the difference in the two mounts. This one is obviously super solid, and this one is more for compliance. If you weren't aware, this is a rubber piece, and let's see if I can get it to move here. So this basically makes it nice and comfortable for your average daily driver who doesn't mind a little bit of slop in their shifting and just wants a quiet ride. As you can see, these two flanges were different. This is the factory, I don't know what you'd call this, kind of skid plate mount. This is the front of the car and this is the back of the car. You want to have your mount oriented like this, with this bent side on the driver's side. And just to show you, if you are installing this with a 5-speed, this little spacer basically pops on like that, and you would install just like that. Alright guys, so I got the mount mounted to the car, and just a bit of a tip here if you're doing this. If you try to put the mount on in one piece, you can't actually access these bolts to bolt it on because this is in the way. So it's actually much easier to just take it apart. This is a socket cap screw, so Allen head. As you can see, you can't really get to this bolt. Still have to tighten these up, but yeah, if you try to put this on in one piece, it's going to be really difficult to tighten that up. You're going to have to use a open-ended wrench or something like that, which is definitely not fun. But yeah, if you take this thing apart, put these flanges on first, and then put the cross piece on, it's much easier.
Mm.